Anthony August Larson here with Plugged In Magazine's YouTube channel. Today is the 7th of February 2018. Yesterday, on February 6th, concerning kratom, the FDA made a statement, and I'm going to read that statement, and I'm going to interject my personal commentary based on my experience as an herbalist, someone who used kratom in Indonesia and in Thailand, someone who's been using it for several years, and somebody who has a doctor's letter, which is documented and it's on YouTube, that requires me to use kratom for my Marine Corps service-connected disability. So let's proceed. Statement from FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb, MD. Sir, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name incorrectly, okay? On the agency's scientific evidence. Scientific, great. That means that it will all be laid out there for us to see. The qualitative, if used, and hopefully the quantitative research methods, so we can examine them. Anyway, on the agency's scientific evidence on the presence of opioid compounds in kratom, underscoring its potential for abuse. For immediate release. Okay, so that means this is a press release or a media release. Summary. FDA releases adverse events and scientific analysis providing even stronger evidence of kratom compounds' opioid properties. Anytime I put my finger up, that's me, the critical thinking part of my mind, just catching the rhetoric here. This is stacked. Even, you cannot use even in the beginning. Well, this is like 9th grade writing. Hello, people. You cannot say even anything in the beginning of any kind of media release without having an initial incident to compare it to. That even needs to be relative to a first fact or incident. You know, for example, yesterday John was sick. Today he is even more sick. In this case, they just insert the word even to increase the rhetoric and make it sound as if they have some evidence already, which they don't. Or at least scientific evidence that has been cited here, which nothing has. It's just an opening statement, so it takes a lot of courage to have that even in your opening statement or your summary. Okay, statement. Over the past several months, there have been many questions raised about the botanical substance known as kratom. Our concerns related to this product and the actions we've taken are rooted in sound science and are in the interest of protecting public health. However, we recognize that there is still much that is unknown about kratom, which is why we've taken some significant steps to advance the scientific understanding of this product and how it works in the body. Great. If this is true, I'll be thankful. Why not? Today, we're providing details of some of the important scientific tools, data, and research that have contributed to the FDA's concerns about kratom's potential for abuse, addiction, and serious health consequences, including death. Including death? Death? Nobody has ever died from kratom alone. People have died with kratom in their system, but these are people who have died of other causes, and also happen to have kratom in their system. I'm sure they also had milk or possibly coffee in their system, but the milk did not kill them, and neither did the kratom. Kratom alone has never killed anybody, ever. Nobody can prove that kratom alone can or has killed anybody. Notably, we recently conducted a novel scientific analysis using a computational model. Okay, computational means it's going to more than likely be quantitative research. Let's see if they give us that research. Anyway, a computational model developed by agency scientists, which provided even stronger evidence of kratom compounds' opioid properties. These kinds, really? Okay, great. So then if they're going to provide us with the facts, that we can see that. These kinds of models have become an advanced, common, and reliable tool for understanding the behavior of drugs in the body. They're basically just saying, yes, this is a solid method and it's effective and accurate. But they're just telling us that. We haven't seen it. And they want us to believe it. Okay, so let's continue. in the body. We also have learned about deaths that involved kratom use. See, if someone had ever died from kratom alone, they would say kratom alone, but they cannot. So they have to say deaths that have involved kratom use. And have identified additional adverse events related to this product. Okay, I hope they cite that. Because just saying this and then never actually saying the other events is, well, unethical. This new data, the word data means they got to show us, or they just expect us to believe. Anyway, this new data adds to our body of substantial scientific evidence. Okay, great. I hope they show us, because this is just rhetoric. Supporting our concerns about the safety and abuse potential of kratom. Okay. We have been especially concerned about the use of kratom to treat opioid withdrawal symptoms, as there is no reliable evidence to support the use of kratom. Okay. As a treatment for opioid use disorder, and significant safety issues exist. All right. My response is the thousands of people that have actually gotten off. That would be what's called qualitative research methods, but they choose to ignore that. So the fact that something is so one way, I'm sorry. I should have completed my sentence. The thousands of people that have gotten off drugs and credited kratom, thousands, and you can find kratomdocumentary.com, for example. There's 60 people right there in a medical professionals, a scientist, all giving their testimony, a PhD in constitutional law who explains how the DEA was going about trying to make kratom illegal, or illegally, actually. Kratomdocumentary.com will show you all of that in videos. Anyway, so yes, they are not trying to illustrate how kratom helps people get off drugs. Clearly they're trying to support that it is bad for people. Why, in my opinion, would somebody do a thing like this? Well, let's think about it, folks. Who pays? Who administers the FDA? Which system do they fall under? How do things get done in that system? Could it potentially be lobbyists? Who pays for those lobbyists? Possibly the pharmaceutical companies? You see what I'm getting at, you guys? Anyway, I'm going to continue here. We recognize the need and desire for alternative treatments for both the treatment of opioid addiction as well as the treatment of chronic pain. The FDA stands ready to evaluate evidence that could demonstrate a medical purpose for kratom. If that was true, they would have already done it. And it just jumps right out at you. And yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. This is wrong. However, to date, we have received no such submissions and are not aware of any evidence that would meet the agency's standard for approval. I see. Okay. Well, your agency needs to meet we the people, our standard of approval. That means we need to see the research. We not just hear you telling us, because we simply don't believe you, FDA. Okay. The FDA's phased model used to assess kratom. Federal agencies need to act quickly to evaluate the abuse potential of newly identified designer street drugs for which limited or no pharmacological data are yet available. This is why the FDA developed the public health assessment via structural evaluation, in parentheses it says phase methodology, a tool to help us simulate using 3D computer technology how the chemical constituents of a substance such as the compounds / alkaloids found in kratom are structured at a molecular level, how they may behave inside the body, may or do behave inside the body. That was me interjecting there. Okay. And how they can potentially affect the brain. In effect, phase uses the molecular structure of a substance to predict its biological function in the body. Okay, I have a problem with this actually, because you don't know. Everyone's body is different. But I can kind of see where they're coming from, but they're going to use a computer program to do that? Let's find out. For example, the modeling platform can simulate how a substance will affect various receptors in the brain based on a product's chemical structure and its similarity to controlled substances for which data are readily available. I see. So it's really up to whoever makes the program. I suspect they're going to show us some fancy program, or possibly not so fancy, because it looks like they just want us to believe anything. And they want us to look at it and go, oh, okay, yeah, that's flashy. I want to see the research. I want to know more than just somebody's rhetoric. Using this computational model, scientists at the FDA first analyzed the chemical structures of the 25 most prevalent compounds in kratom. Okay. From this analysis, the agency concluded that all of the compounds share the most structural similarities with controlled opioid analgesics. I know I said that wrong, whatever. Such as morphine derivatives. Okay, similar chemical compounds. So kratom is a cousin of the coffee plant, all right? Just saying similar chemical compound, that's up to definition. That goes right back to rhetoric. This rhetoric is an educated way of saying BS, people. Anyway, let's keep going. Next, our scientists analyzed the chemical structure of these kratom compounds against the software. It's like fantasy football, people. You plug it in and they'll tell you what would have happened if this is not even, is it science? No. Anyway, against the software to determine its likely biological targets. The model predicted that 22, including mitragine, of the 25 compounds in kratom bind to mu-opioid receptors. Which it doesn't tell us what that is, okay? Could be, right, for us, the layman Americans, other things could bind to the mu-opioid receptors. From what I understand, exercise impacts those receptors. They're used for many things. So just using that, like if somebody was to read this, like at a congressional meeting, blah, 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 binds the opioid receptors. Wow, sounds like they're right on. Let's make that illegal. But if you really look at it with your brain and critical thinking, no, I'm sorry, it's not solid. Because they're not explaining anything. They're saying something and then expecting us to just take it for that, and I don't. The new data provides even stronger, as if the last data provided anything, evidence of kratom compounds' opioid properties. See, opioid or opioid-like? That's tricky. It says right here, opioid properties. It's not an opioid. They need to correct this, or they're misleading on their website, and I'm going to make a photo of the American people. Someone can get in trouble here. The computational model also predicted that some of the kratom compounds may bind to the receptors. It may, keyword may, bind to the receptor. You may win the lotto, folks. May bind to the receptors in the brain that may contribute to stress responses that impact neurological and cardiovascular function. Well, as may coffee, maybe anything could happen. The agency has previously warned of serious side effects associated with kratom. Warning and proving are two different things, people. Yeah, you can warn because you're owned by big-pharm, but can you prove it? And yes, we know big-pharm doesn't own the FDA, but who controls them? Okay, great. Who pays for their campaigns? Thank you. Who lobbies for them? Thank you. Let's just call it how we see it, folks. I mean, do we need to get people involved in kratom to just start giving them money? Can we just give you guys some money and then you'll do what you're supposed to do? I mean, obviously, turning tricks over there for the FDA. Anyway, all right. Okay, the agency has previously warned of serious side effects associated with kratom, including seizures, and respiratory depression. Come on, people, let's be real. We all know this doesn't happen. How? Prove, okay, if you're going to make that kind of statement, you got to prove it. Show us. We want to see it. We want to see the proof. We don't want to see somebody who was on a bunch of other drugs and happened to take kratom and then they had a seizure. We want to see the science. Call me, 310-806-1808. Call me, show me the science. Anyway, the third aspect, sad thing is, they're stating the third quote, third aspect, as if they had as they just provided two solid aspects or two solid points. Until now, there's 0 solid points. The third aspect of this model is the 3D image we generate to look at not just where these compounds bind, but how strongly they bind to their biological targets. Oh, really? I need to have a scientist explain this. But how strong? Okay, well, guess what? Other compounds can bind strongly to their biological targets. Normal, nothing big about that. Maybe they're saying, okay, it stays with it for a long time. They need to explain exactly what that means to us, because most people will hear that and go, wow, that must mean something big. But no, I'm not fooled, people. Their goal in this is to make us believe something that we know is not true. So let's insist that they show us the money. Prove it. Lay your cards on the table. Don't just say you've got a full house. You've got to show that full house. But unfortunately, the American people, a lot of them will buy it. You know, that's what this video is all about. Don't buy it, people. Insist on the truth. Insist on seeing it. Would you play poker with somebody and just believe? Does anyone do that? No, you got to show the cards. So what does this body of scientific evidence mean? The FDA relies on this. Wait a second. This is not a body of scientific evidence. This is rhetoric. It's a media release. And it has not demonstrated anything. It has told us. But you don't tell people something this important. You actually demonstrate it, because people, unless you think they're idiots. Do you think we're all a bunch of idiots, FDA? Apparently you do. Anyway, so what does this body of scientific evidence mean? Which, again, it's not scientific evidence. It's just a freaking bunch of rhetoric. The FDA relies on this kind of sophisticated model and simulation to supplement its data on how patients react to drugs, often as a way to fully elucidate the biological activity of a new substance. Do you really think the average American person knows what elucidate means? I got a graduate degree. I don't even know what it means. Anyway, the data from the phase model, well, let's just look at that sentence. Sophisticated model and simulation. Wait a minute. So this is simulation like fantasy football again. Like an app you could make for your iPhone to do something like a video game for kids. Okay? To show, so I hope they don't show us and then think in their mind that that actually is some kind of evidence, because it's not. Based on scientific information, wait, here we go. I'm sorry. FDA relies on this kind of sophisticated model and simulation to supplement its data on how patients react to drugs, often as a way to fully elucidate the biological activity of a new substance. The data from the phase model shows us that kratom compounds are predicted, not proven, to affect the body just like opioids. But they can't prove it, can they? Think about it like this. If they did affect the body like opioids, this whole rhetoric would be a lot stronger. They would say it's an opioid, but it's not. They have done a very good job of really making this document, making kratom sound bad. But if you read through it, they don't want to get in big trouble for flat out lying to us. So they say things like that. Let's continue. Okay, based on the scientific information in the literature, hold on. Scientific, we haven't seen anything, we've just been told. In the literature, and further supported by our computational modeling. That's a big word, American people. You should believe it. And the reports of its adverse effects in humans. Oh, that's a pretty strong statement. Adverse effects in humans. Did they prove that? Nope. We feel confident in calling compounds found in kratom opioids. Oh, okay. So hold on. That's kind of like saying, you know what? You have spent a long time in that garage. I feel confident calling you a car. Right. Furthermore, this highlights the power of our computational model-based approach to rapidly assess any new identified natural or synthetic opioid to respond to a public health emergency. Translation: that means that if anything else like this happens, first of all, we can do it really quickly so that we can just shove that under the rug before there's time to actually go through the due process that Dr. Desi Andrews says is a requirement based on our American Constitution. Yeah, so the sense of urgency, it's a sales close. It's a trick. Created a sense of urgency. So basically, our model does not have to be that well proven, or methods don't have to be really that researched, because there is a sense of urgency. So instead of instead of delivering the American people the full research we're supposed to do, we're just going to give you like 2 out of 10 on what we're supposed to do here, because it's supposed to happen real fast. Is that okay? You okay with that because you love us, because you believe us, because we're American? No, we're not okay with that. Total BS. Anyway, furthermore, this highlights the power of our computation. Oh, I think I read that. All right. Learnings from reports of deaths associated with kratom. Notice it doesn't say deaths from kratom. Has to say associated with, because there has not been a death from just kratom. We've been carefully monitoring the use of kratom for several years and have placed kratom products on import alert to prevent them from entering the country illegally. Hold on. That's a lie. It is not illegal to import kratom. So, unless something has changed that I don't know about, which they have not done a very good job of making that public knowledge, but it's pretty good to put illegally in there, because that makes it sound like whoever's importing it is breaking the law. But I'll tell you something. I mean, there's tons of it all over the place. You search kratom, happy testimonial, you'll see people all over the country using it, getting off drugs, and living their life the way they should have been. Anyway, we have also conducted several product seizures. These actions were based, in part, on a body of academic research. Okay. I keep hearing about this research, but all I'm seeing is the rhetoric. And I'm not seeing the research pasted or posted anywhere. I wonder if they'll be open to letting us take a look through the laboratory and actually interview the scientists and see this happening and have the data. Anyway, as well as reports we have received suggesting harm associated with its use. And we are not alone in our evaluation in our public health concerns. Numerous countries, states, and cities have banned kratom from entering their jurisdictions. Numerous? Because I know Thailand, when their number one cash crop was opium, they didn't want the people getting off the opium, so they made kratom illegal. I don't even think it's illegal anymore, because they had a less corrupt king, or I should say head of state, not too long ago, but don't take my word for that. Please look it up yourself. Anyway, we described some of this information in a public health advisory in November of 2017, in which we urged consumers not to use kratom or any compounds found in the plant. Yes, we would like you to keep taking the opiates, because, frankly, that money goes to pay for the lobbyists that put the people in power that control our administration. Now I'd like to share more information about the tragic reports we've received of additional deaths involving the use of kratom. Involving, not death by kratom only. Looking at the information we have received, including academic research, poison control data, medical examiner reports, social science research, and adverse event reports, we now have 44 reported deaths associated with the use of kratom. Well, okay, you could say that. You could also say that there are thousands of deaths associated with people accidentally swallowing little packets of the prepackaged Tide laundry detergent. But I don't see the FDA caring at all about that. Anyway, we're continuing to review the newly received reports, and we'll release those soon. But it's important to note that these new reports include information consistent with the previous reports. Okay, so it's more of the same. Today we're releasing the reports of 36 deaths we referenced in November. period. They didn't have the courage to say 36 deaths and then follow that up with the truth or details. They want you to imagine and assume that means deaths by kratom alone, but it does not. They cannot prove that kratom alone can kill people. These reports underscore the serious and sometimes deadly risks of using kratom and the potential interactions associated with this drug. Is it a drug? Who made it a drug? Anyway, that's a whole different story. But okay, again, if it was kratom alone, they would be saying just kratom kills people. They can't. These same 36 deaths may have very well had milk in their system, but the milk did not kill them. Probably. Could have been the hormones. Anyway, this individual, overall, many of the cases received could not be fully assessed because of limited information provided. However, one new report of death was of particular concern. This individual had no known historical or toxicologic evidence of opioid use except for kratom. See, now here it's saying opioid use, comma, except for kratom, as if kratom is an opioid, but it's not. That's rhetoric, folks. That's your FDA lying to you. Anyway, we're continuing to investigate this report, but the information we have so far reinforces our concerns about the use of kratom. In addition, a few accessible cases with fatal outcomes raise concern that kratom is being used in combination with other drugs that affect the brain, including illicit drugs, prescription opioids, benzodiazepines, and over-the-counter medications, like the anti-diarrheal medicine, lopramine. Look it up, guys. Look on. You got to see it yourself. Loperamide. Okay. Yes. But people are also drinking water with their medicine, and they're also drinking coffee. Should we make coffee illegal, folks? No, because there's a huge industry for that. And what about all the people smoking dope while they're using their drugs? And now dope's like legal, or I mean marijuana, so come on. It's all about the money. Cases of mixing kratom, other opioids. See, there it is again, other opioids, but kratom is not an opioid. So that would be like saying, hey, John Smith, and then referencing his BMW. Why don't you guys come over here? But they're not in the same category. Do you see what I'm saying? That's a car. You're a person. Anyway, very good rhetoric. Whoever wrote this, it probably went to Yale. Anyway, let's see. Okay, cases of mixing kratom, other opioids, and other types of medicine is extremely troubling because the activity of kratom at opioid receptors indicates that there may be similar risks of combining kratom with certain drugs, just as there are with FDA-approved opioids. However, unlike kratom, FDA-approved drugs have undergone extensive review for safety and efficiency, or I can't say that, EFFIC. ACY. I should know that, but I don't. Anyway. And the agency continuously tracks safety data for emerging safety risks that were previously unknown. So we have better information about the risks associated with these products and can better inform the public of new safety concerns. For example, in August 2016, the FDA required a class-wide change to drug labeling to help and inform healthcare providers and patients of the serious risks, including respiratory depression, coma, and death associated with the combined use of certain opioid medications and benzodiazepines. So basically, they're telling you, we care about the people. See what we're doing? We wouldn't BS you with all this stuff about kratom. It's not about the money. It's because we care. Right. In June 2016, the agency also issued a warning taking significantly high doses of lopramide, including through abuse or misuse of the product to achieve euphoria or self-treat opioid withdrawal. and can cause serious heart problems that can lead to death. We also recently took steps to help reduce abuse of loperamide by requesting packaging restrictions for these products sold over the counter. Okay, but they're still being sold over the counter and you have a problem with kratom? Come on, people. Again, they're just trying to show you, look, we did our job before last year. We care. Dude, no one's buying it. I mean, they might be, but I hope they stop buying it. Anyway, let's see. Taken in total, the scientific evidence we've evaluated about kratom provides a clear picture of the biological effect of the substance. They've said that a few times, but we haven't seen any of the scientific research. Kratom should not be used to treat medical conditions, nor should it be used as an alternative to prescription opioids. There is no evidence to indicate that kratom is safe or effective for any medical use. And claiming that kratom is benign because it is, quote, just a plant, unquote, is short-sighted and dangerous. After all, heroin is an illegal, dangerous, and highly addictive substance containing the opioid morphine derived from the seed pod of the various opium poppy plants. That's a good point. However, you people were saying the same thing about marijuana, the devil weed. Why? Because the tobacco industry has its hands right where big-pharm has its hands, right on your... Anyway, let's continue. Further, the scientific data and adverse event reports have clearly revealed compounds in kratom make it so it isn't just a plant. It's an opioid. But they haven't proven anything to us. Like, their statements have been repetitive, and that's the same techniques that Hitler used, repetition, and you hear something enough times, you start to believe it. But, well, many people do. I don't generally. Let's see where the proof is. I hope they have some proof. I want to see it. And it's an opioid that's associated with novel risks because of the variability of how it's being formulated. So now they keep saying it's an opioid, whereas they had to introduce the concept of it possibly being an opioid in the beginning and make us slowly accept the fact. We're on to you. We can see this. We can see right through it. Anyway, novel risks because of the okay, we read that. And how it's being formulated, sold, and used recreationally and by those who are seeking to self-medicate for pain or who use kratom to treat opioid withdrawal symptoms. We recognize that many people have unmet needs when it comes to treating pain or addiction disorders. For individuals seeking treatment for opioid addiction who are being told that kratom can be an effective treatment, I urge you to seek help from a healthcare provider because they pay into the system that, now that's my commentary, of course, because that's part of the system that we belong to. There are safe and effective FDA-approved medical therapies available for the treatment of opioid addiction. Really? What are they? Because I've spoken to a lot of people that have used methadone, and I suspect that they would strongly disagree with you, FDA. But somebody has gotten very rich with that and made a lot of political contributions, I'm sure. Let's continue. Okay, treatment of addiction. Combined with psychological support, these treatments are effective. Importantly, there are 3 drugs, bupropion, methadone, and naltrexone, approved by the FDA for the treatment of opioid addiction. And the agency is committed to promoting more widespread innovation and across to these treatments to help those suffering from an opioid use disorder transition to lives of sobriety. Okay, people, I want you to search those 3 drugs that they say that they stand behind. They're right here. I'll spell them. Well, bupropion, bupropiene. I think I said it wrong. Next one is methadone. Just look it up. Look up methadone and hell on YouTube. Anyway, and the last one is naltrexone. Naltrexone. Look it up. And anyway, I'm surprised they have the courage to say, just use methadone. That's like saying, F you. Anyway, we don't care. Just take the methadone. Yeah. There are also safer non-opioid options to treat pain. Yeah, just keep your pain, people. We don't care. We recognize that some patients have tried available therapies and still have unmet medical needs. We're deeply committed to these patients and to advancing new, safe, and effective options for those suffering from these conditions. Right. But then why haven't you explored the positive aspects of kratom? What's your answer? Did I just say that like President Trump? What's your answer? I'm sorry. That was funny. The FDA, an agency within the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, protects the public health by assuring the safety, effectiveness, and security of human and veterinary drugs, vaccines, and other biological products for human use and medical devices. The agency is also responsible for the safety and security of our nation's food supply, cosmetics, dietary supplements, products that give off electronic radiation. Well, then why do we still have these? And for regulating tobacco products. Okay, we'll regulate it as long as we get paid. That's what it is, you guys. That's the end of their release. Now there's this thing. I'll just spin my computer around. We can look at it together. Let's see what it is. Is there something here or just a picture that's supposed to make Joe Public say, oh yeah, kratom, the fancy word opioid, mu-opioid interaction. This model shows that compounds in kratom strongly bind to the opioid receptors. Okay. I cannot wait to save him. But where is it? That's it? A photo? That's the only scientific evidence is a photo. No evidence, folks. We just want you to believe it because we're good talkers. And after this, we would love for you to buy a brand new 1979 Ford Pinto. Only been owned twice. And it can be all yours. Sorry, I had to do that. It is what it is, guys. Thanks for watching this. And let's work together to make something happen here. And let's work as a team. Anybody that wants to can contact me.